Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today it's time for me to talk about the films that I saw at the cinema in January 2018. And this month was a bit lighter because there were only 2 visits to the cinema. One of them was okay, nothing special, and the other was simply fantastic. And first of all, we'll start off with the first one, which happened to be the merely okay one. And that might surprise people to learn that it was Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, which is obviously directed by Rian Johnson, stars Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, who sadly died before the film was released, as is well known. Now, I'm not obviously going to describe the plot of Star Wars because it's Star Wars. I mean, effectively, if you don't know what Star Wars is, where have you been living, on the moon or something? I don't know. It's a bit hard to miss it considering how heavily hyped this film has been, and indeed how influential Star Wars as a whole, obviously the original trilogy, was in the late 70s, because it's Star Wars, frankly. I thought this was okay, but nothing special. Now, I did think, however, it was better than Episode 7, because Episode 7 I was actually disappointed in. I thought it was, frankly, sort of them trying to sort of redo aspects of the original trilogy in one film with a new cast and a new setting and sort of newer, cleaner technology and things to get you got crisper shots, which I wasn't that impressed by. This, it did actually have its own plot, which was completely different and fairly original from all the older Star Wars, and I was quite happy to have watched it. It wasn't anything special, however, because the plot was fairly predictable, and it was also kind of over faster than you'd expect. I mean, it's not a short film, it's like a 2-hour, 10-minute film, I believe, from memory, yet it felt much faster. It felt like an hour, and it felt like you wanted more from the film because the plot was relatively smaller scale by comparison to the other Star Wars. The other Star Wars films feel a bit more grander, the more like space operas. This didn't really, because you've got it set only on 1 or 2 locations really for most of the film. And could I say the one character that I don't get about the new Star Wars Episode 7 and 8, because I keep hearing her mentioned repeatedly and her sort of hyped up really badly, is the Captain Phasma character played by Gwendolyn Christie, because everybody keeps hyping her up as though her character and her role in the film is really significant, and I thought her role in the film was frankly boring and totally forgettable. She played a tiny role with just a few sentences spoken, and frankly she could have been easily replaced, and I think should have been, by a sort of fairly generic stormtrooper, just saying the role, rather than having this big, tall, silvered stormtrooper captain who is frankly forgettable and is not very interesting. There's no personality there. She's just a slightly nasty stormtrooper captain. Amazing. I'm not that impressed, frankly. And overall, I liked the film, but again, wasn't massively impressed. And the second film that I watched was the one that I really enjoyed and was extremely impressed by, and that is Darkest Hour. This is directed by Joe Wright and stars Gary Oldman in the title role. It stars Lily James and Kristen Scott Thomas, and this is a film about Winston Churchill from when he first was elected into the position of Prime Minister in May 1940, and is set only over the course of a few weeks up until Dunkirk, when he had to make the decision on whether to essentially leave the troops over there, try and bring them back, how to do that, what kind of sort of expenses and resources he would need to throw at the problem, because it wasn't obviously a major problem. And it was both very tense, considering that I already kind of knew most of this from school and just general programs in the UK anyway, but it managed to keep the intensity up, the intrigue and the sort of political sort of behind the scenes things, which I didn't really expect to see in this way. I was happy to see because it was done extremely well. Gary Oldman does the role of Churchill brilliantly, and Kristen Scott Thomas as his wife Clemmy was also great as well. And I just really enjoyed this film immensely, and fact that this is getting all sorts of, you know, Oscar nomination buzz and these other awards and stuff, you know, mentions, I'm not surprised, because this is a very powerful film. And I kind of thinking of the film that I watched last year, which happened to be Dunkirk. So I've watched a film about Dunkirk, and now I've watched a film about Churchill and the preparation for Dunkirk within the same 12-month period. So I wonder what will come up in the future. And with that said, that is it for just the 2 films that I watched in January. If you watched anything particularly interesting, then let me know. If there's anything coming up in the very near future that I might not be aware of, then please let me know as well, because I obviously do miss things from time to time. And with that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.